Yeah. No one should be feeling like they're not part of a community, no matter which community is. Networking events can be a little bit intimidating when you first start out. So it's always nice to have somebody there you can sort of latch onto and see. You had that with them where you could just sort of see how, like, I want to be like them, because that's the person that people want to speak to. That's the kind of people you love to have at a networking event. It just sort of brings everyone together and just makes you feel like this isn't the way I thought it would be. It's much more interesting than that. The community is so much more dynamic and inclusive when it's like that. When it's not, you don't want it to be like that. So that's really, really nice to hear.
Yeah, and I think, just to go on that networking vibe, because I again, I could go on about it all day. But for everyone, I always get asked the question, like, oh, but networking's so hard, and it's so difficult, and how do you talk to people, and what happens if you don't know anyone, and all of this stuff. And the only advice that I always give is that the only way you will start to enjoy networking is if when you walk into that room, you see people you know. And the only way you will know those people is if you go out networking. No one in this world, and challenge me if you want to, but no one in this world can walk into a room of people they don't know and not get that feeling, because that is a primal instinct that I think all of us have. And if anybody doesn't have it, let me know, because I want to know who you are. And the only way you can get rid of that feeling is if you look around and you see someone you know, and then you're like, yes, going over to them, and then you just have a lovely time.
Yeah, that's the best way to sort of get into an event. At least there's one person you can talk to. And then once you relax into the event, maybe they'll introduce you to someone else. Maybe you'll pluck up the courage to sort of break into a little group and say hello. I mean, it is the hardest thing. I've done it myself where I've gone to a networking event and it can be difficult. But then you do. You see someone you know. You say hello, they'll go, hey, there's someone over there who might want to talk to you. They introduce you, and then you're away. It just, again, it's just breaking the ice at these events. It's really nice to have that one. So if there's someone you know who's going along to an event, go along with them, and, you'll never know what might happen.
Exactly, Peter.
I could have done with this. I could have done with that advice when I started doing networking events, because I struggled with them. I did, and I was like, I found it very difficult. I did go to an event where there was like really nobody there that I knew, and there was actually one person, but I had only just met them. They literally recommended an event and said, hey, there's an event tomorrow. Do you want to go? And I was like, okay. So I went there, and he was the only one I knew. So I went up to him and said hello, and through him met another person who I then joined their group, and it sort of grew from there. But it's funny how it was that one person who just happened to say hello to me at an event, and then I went to an event where I knew no one but them the following day, and that definitely opened up a few more opportunities for me. But I might not have gone to that second event if they'd not mentioned it, or they weren't going. I would have said, I don't know anyone who goes to that one. So I understand that it was difficult. So it's just making that first connection.
Yeah, and then it's a chain reaction.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that. I was so intimidated. I'd done presentations and talks. I didn't feel intimidated at all. But going to an event where there was just maybe a dozen or so people there, I was like, I can't do that. Yeah, I could do a talk to 100 people. But I can't talk to one person. Why is this? It's just that face-to-face. But once you had that, if I'd heard that before I went there, I'd have felt a bit more relaxed, because I was a bit uneasy. And I think if I'd realized, that guy's there at least, I think I would have relaxed more into it. And I've met people there that I've spoken to since and know quite well now. So, yeah, I found that initially difficult. But once I had that one person, and I was like, I want to be like them as well, sort of be, welcoming and seeing if someone's on their own. I hate to see, I used to be the person on their own at events. You'd be like a conference, and I'd be the guy wandering on his own. If I see someone doing that, I'll go over and say hello. And I'll make sure they're not the person who's on their own.
Yeah, because you've got that deep-rooted empathy. You know exactly what they're feeling like. And I'm the same now as well. Like, it's always people sort of standing on their phones or next to the tea and coffee, and you're just like, hello, who are you?
Yeah, I did that at an event recently. It was in there was an event where there was a guy on his own. And I went up to him and said, "Oh, how are you doing?" And he was like, he was just waiting for someone who was waiting at the bar.
Nice.
But the weird thing is, he said, but thanks for saying it, because I didn't know what this event was about. So tell me about it. So the weird thing is, he was at the event, but because he was just meeting his friend at the bar, he didn't know what the event actually was. And of course, nobody had gone up to him and told him. So thanks to me speaking to him, he was like, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know there was all these things doing that. I quite like it was like he liked gaming and stuff. So he thought, well, these tech companies, I might be interested.
Wow.
So I was actually pleased I went, because I just thought I'll go. I felt a bit silly initially. I was like, oh, he was just waiting for his friend. But then when he was actually interested in learning about the event, and he'd been sitting there all that time waiting for his friend to stop to finish his shift, and no one had spoken to him except for me. So I was like, so after that, I felt I did do the right thing after all. Because it is, yeah, when you're at, and I've done that even when I've been to other events. So I see someone on their own, I'll go over and say hello. And sometimes people on their own come to me. I seem to sort of attract people who maybe see that in me, and they kind of come over and there's a friendly face and go, oh, hello. And then it starts from there. And I quite like that.